Welcome to week 7 of Management Information Systems and Technology. For this week, I'm going to define a project and explain how time, cost, and scope affect it. I'm also going to describe the 5 processes of project management. Next, we're going to look at how project management software helps managers plan, track, and manage reports. Next, I'm going to explain how the importance of strategic planning for information systems and provide examples. And then last, I'm going to explain how the human elements affect strategic planning. A project is a temporary activity that is launched for a specific purpose to carry out a particular objective. Projects are temporary with their own budgets, timelines, and sponsor. In contrast, a business process is a series of events designed to deliver a product or service that is repeated over and over. Projects are unique, but processes are recurrent. Projects are one of a kind, and they involve uncertainty because people are doing things that are new to them. So their predictions about how long tasks will take may be well off the mark. In contrast, a process should be tweaked so that the underlying activities are streamlined, efficient, predictable, and cost-effective. Project management skills are essential for projects incorporating information systems, but many activities in ITs are business processes that repeat, and they should be made as streamlined, routine, and as cost-effective as possible. Every project is constrained by 3 fundamental forces: time, cost, and scope. These 3 are interrelated, and if one changes, the others are affected. Often, one of the constraints is fixed for a particular project, so the other 2 forces must be adjusted if change is needed. For a project proposal requesting $150,000, a manager might say $100,000 is the limit, not a penny more, thus fixing the costs. The project scope can be reduced instead. The time could be lengthened or both. In some situations, the time constraint is critical. A project manager is a systematic approach to project planning, organizing, and managing resources, resulting in a project that successfully meets its objectives. It requires knowledge and skills in many areas and a clear understanding of the processes that underlie a successful project. Every project has 5 underlying processes that require management: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and closing. The initiating process laid the groundwork for the project by clarifying the value it will bring to the organization, setting its objectives, and estimating the project's length, scope, and cost. A key document that authorizes the project is the project charter. The charter shows that the project has the commitment and support of senior management, an essential element for success. It should also include a clear statement of objective, estimated time, start and end dates, the names of the relevant people and their roles, a tentative budget, criteria for success, and any other pertinent information to get the project off to a good start. Another initiating process is the kickoff meeting, where the stakeholders meet one another, sometimes for the first time and the only time. Led by the project manager, the team reviews the charter and discusses the next step. The planning process, which is one of the most important things, steps. The planning process should start very early with the overarching project management planning. This will be the roadmap and guide for executing the project, and it describes the components needed to ensure success. The planning will include an organizational chart, a detailed description of the work to be performed, information about the schedule, detail about meeting and reviews, success matrix, and notations about any information systems or project monitoring tools that will be used. It should also identify the deliverables, which are the products, documents, or services that will be delivered to the sponsor during the course of the project. The project management plan touches on several areas that affect all projects, and for the larger ones, some of the areas need sub-plan of their own. The project manager plan will also include strategies for planning time, quality human resources, communication costs, risks, and overall integration. Several documents are especially critical for the planning process, such as the scope statement, which clarifies the scope and provides a work breakdown structure. This is an orderly listing of actual tasks and the project team must complete to produce the project deliverables. Another is the giant chart, which lists the tasks on the WBSs along with each task projected start and finish date in a graphical format. The executing process includes all the coordinating efforts that ensure the tasks on the WBSs are carried out properly. For the project management, tasks to execute include communicating with stakeholders, allocating work assignments, negotiating contracts, coaching team members, holding team meetings, writing updates, doing presentations for the board, conducting research, and much more. The best project managers, however, spend a little bit more time on the other process, especially planning, and a little less on executing. Monitoring and controlling process track progress from start to finish. Pinpointing any deviations from the plan, the project manager pays close attention to reports and dashboards that might show early warning signs that some tasks have fallen behind. Most tasks on the WBSs have predecessors, which are the other tasks that must be completed before the particular task can begin. The critical path is the longest path through the project and identifies those tasks that can't be delayed without affecting the final date. Monitoring tasks that fall along the critical path is especially important. Closing processes will formally end the project in an orderly way. Sponsor may need to sign off that all deliverables have been received and accepted, and the team member may be resigned to their regular jobs. Usually, the report manager holds a final meeting with the team to celebrate. Project managers enjoy a broad range of tools that can help manage and track a project. Project manager softwares provide extensive tools to help the PM manage time. The software automatically adjusts start and end dates as the PM creates the work breakdown structure. The PM can also use the project plan as the baseline schedule. Once the project starts, the PM can enter actual completion dates for each task, and the software can display 2 bars for each task. one for the baseline and the other for the actual progress. Another useful feature in project management software is the ability to assign people to tasks and then track their workloads and duties across the project. The PM can enter the people who will be working on the task along with their working calendars and planned vacations. Team members can each be assigned to the appropriate task in the work breakdown structure, and reports will show the level of effort required of each person each day. The reports showing everyone's schedule are especially useful because many projects include team members who will work in other departments or projects, and their skills have to be shared. Salaries, consultant fees, equipment, travels, and rental expenses can all be estimated upfront with project management software and then tracked against the baseline as the project progresses. The software calculates the baseline cost for the project and provides reports on variance as the project proceeds. Because information systems are so central to success and strategies, competitiveness, organization creates an IT strategic plan to provide a roadmap that charts the course. This roadmap should be aligned with the strategy the company establishes, whether the strategy is low cost leadership, product differentiation, or something else. The strategy plan for information systems should be closely aligned and used to guide decision making. While the CIO leads the effort, stakeholders from across the organization also participate. Some of the major areas the plan covers are vision, principles, and policies, project portfolio management, disaster recovery, and business continuity. The organization's vision, mission, and culture determines the principles that guide how IT is managed and used and how resources are allocated. For example, a risk-averse financial company will lean towards strategies that protect assets and ensure compliance with regulations. A startup might stress innovation, establishing principles that promote individuals' creativity. The vision and the principles that drive it are translated into policies and procedures that reach down into business processes and workplace culture. The organization's guiding principles also influence how it allocates IT. The organization's principles also guide the acceptable use policy, which lays out the rules about what employees can do with IT resources and what they can't do. The enterprise architecture is the organization's overarching ICT environment, and the plan for this architecture should address its current and target state. New systems are added and old ones retired. The components of the architecture continues to change. Without a strategic plan to guide the architectural decision, change will be hampered. The strategic plan should outline how the organizations will guide investments in new IT-related projects, especially to show how they will support business goals. Project portfolio management is a continuous process of selecting which project to pursue and then managing the whole portfolio. The organization must decide on selecting criteria and a strategy to determine which project will make the best contribution and which are worthy of investment and staff time. One important criterion is whether a project will contribute to competitive strategy and distinguish the company from rivals. Return on investment is another important criterion. one that may not be easy to estimate. Saving can be elusive too. Compliance and risk education are also important drivers for projects. By some estimates, Fortune 500 companies sink well over half their strategic initiatives into projects. Many companies have established a program management office, which is PMO, that oversees all the projects going on throughout the organization and provide project management training, software, and support. With the organization's goals in mind, the PMO can make the tough decisions about how scarce resources are assigned and which project will take precedence. To track progress on all projects, the PMO collects data from each one and aggregates it, building a larger picture of the overall health of the organization's project portfolio. Summary charts show how well projects are doing in terms of cost, schedule, or other metrics. Disaster recovery refers to all the procedures and documents the organization puts in place to prepare for a disaster, and recover the technical infrastructure. One study shows that as many as 60% of U.S. enterprises have not developed adequate disaster recovery plans and are far fewer tests their plans routinely. Recovery from disaster is not just about bringing the system back on. It also means ensuring business continuity. Faced with many different kinds of disasters, the organization must develop plans for maintaining its business operations to avoid a devastating revenue loss and damaging reputation. Disaster recovery and business continuity planning starts with a business impact analysis, which indicates the most critical and time-sensitive information systems. Explains who will be in charge, how people will communicate, and how the firm will determine the severity of the disaster. Other features of the analysis include data backup schedules, off-site storage, locations for backup media, recovery sites where the data can be stored, restored, procedures for restarting the system. Creating a plan that gathers dust on a shelf is not an effective approach. The plan must be tested and then revised when flaws surface, especially just based on the environment that you basically live in. Living in South Florida, you have to look out for hurricanes, so you have to have a disaster recovery in plan just in case something like that happens, for earthquakes and various things of that nature. So every company should have one and test it out to make sure it hits every element that is needed. Every strategic planning efforts can cause for human judgment. There is always a human element in it. Making predictions about events that affect information systems planning is a considerable challenge. Although hard data and business intelligence can inform the plan and keep it grounded in reality, human beings are remarkably far much better fallible. One reason for such mistakes is that humans show certain biases that can cloud how they interpret data and predict the future. A cognitive bias is a common human tendency to make systematic mistakes when processing information or making judgments. People show confirmation biases by choosing information to examine that supports the view they already hold and ignoring data that might refute their hypothesis. Another bias is overconfidence. in the accuracy of our own estimates. Not only do people underestimate how long tasks like this will take, but they also tend to be quite confident in their mistaken estimates. People often rely too heavily on one piece of information to adjust their estimates, even if it is irrelevant. The phenomenon is called anchoring. The availability bias, which is the tendency for people to judge the likelihood of events based on how readily they come to mind, can also distort strategic planning. This bias affects how people develop disaster recovery plans, and especially what disasters they judge most likely. The hindsight bias refers to the human tendency to think an unusual event was predictable once they know it actually happened. So that concludes week 7